Good morning, everybody. I heard the phrase "Shalom, Boker Tov" every single morning, and that means hello, good morning in Hebrew. So, Shalom, Boker Tov, everybody.
Shalom.
So, a couple months ago, our school was given the opportunity to go to Israel with this group called Passages, and they take college students from different colleges around the United States, and they take them to Israel and they learn about the Jewish community, they go to biblical sites, they learn about the political situation over there. And so I was super, super excited because it had been on my dream, on my bucket list to go to Israel. And so I applied, and originally I did not get in, and I was very, very upset about that. Because, I had, it happened around my birthday, and I was like, okay, everybody give me money, I'm going to go to Israel, but it didn't work out. And I was kind of upset because my roommate got in, and I didn't get anybody. Anyway, but over Christmas break, I got an email from the professor that was accompanying us on the trip, and he said, hey, there's an open spot, and I'm assuming you want it, so finish your application, and you'll be all set. So again, I got super, super excited, and it was it was kind of last minute. I had to pay within like 10 days of me getting that email, and it was $700 that I still needed. But through the Lord's grace, I was able to go. But let me tell you, that trip, I learned more than I ever imagined that I would learn. And it affected me so, so deeply. And I'm still processing, even though it's been almost 2 weeks since I've been back. I'm still going through everything. I'm still processing. So you won't get the full effect. I might start rambling because there's just so much. So please let me know if I'm rambling and I will stop. I promise. Okay. So the trip started out with an hour van ride, very, very close quarters with about 15 other people. A 4-hour train ride and an 11-hour flight. So it was almost a full 24 hours of us traveling. It was not fun. I felt really gross afterwards. And immediately we got on a bus and went and started the tour. So I was already super, super tired. I had been up for almost 24 hours. And as soon as we got there, they were like, okay, we're going to get on a bus and we're going to start right now. And we went to this little town called Jaffa. We went to the port. You can see the beautiful picture of the port and the city. It was amazing. I was super, super tired, so I don't remember a whole lot from that day. But I do remember our tour guide, Daniel, going through and telling us just kind of the history of, kind of what we were going to go through. So the second day, we went to the Mount of Beatitudes, which was absolutely gorgeous. And that's where that's when I really started feeling God's presence on this trip. I remember he told us the history. We went through this little church, which you can see a picture of right there. It was beautiful. And there was this beautiful outlook, and there were a couple of benches, and I went and I read the Sermon on the Mount. And in that moment, I just felt God's presence. The Sea of Galilee was next. Again, in complete awe. You can see, I took a picture. It doesn't even look like my feet are in water, but I promise, they are in water. It's not just a picture of my feet. It was, the water was incredibly clear. It was just, that was the most peace I've ever felt in my life. We went on this little boat, and we just sang a couple of praise and worship songs. And I was back to back with another girl, and I was just looking out on the Sea of Galilee. It was just absolutely amazing, and I cannot describe just how at peace I felt. That day, right before the boat ride, we had this lunch. I ate an entire fish with a head still on it. I ate a fisheye. That was really cool. I sent a picture to my mom, and she was like, wow, that looks really stiff. I can't believe you ate that. I got back, my dad was like, you ate what? I did. Next, we went to the house of Peter. It was really insane because I had studied it in 8th grade, and we went through, and once a quarter in 8th grade we would fill out these little forms and we would learn about biblical sites. And we actually got to see the house of Peter, and there's this little church built on top of it, and there's a little glass bottom, and you can go look in, and it was just absolutely amazing. And there was a temple there was a temple that we went to that same day, and I noticed that there were these little notes that people would put in the wall. And it was like little prayers. And one of the days we went to this thing called the Wailing Wall, which is a very, very holy site for a lot of the Jews and the Muslims around that area. Mostly the Jews. They would go and they would go and put little prayers in the wall. I was able to put a prayer in the wall. And it was just so, like, it affected me in a way that I still can't explain again. I'm still processing. It's still fresh on my mind. It was absolutely amazing to see all of these people going and praying, and there were some people who would spend, like, we stayed there for maybe 45 minutes, and for all 45 minutes I saw certain people just did not move from that wall. They were repeating these prayers. I just could not speak because I was just in complete awe. And it just affected me in a way because I knew that what we believed was different. And from our standpoint, the Jews that are doing this and they're dedicating they're dedicating their time to this, and yet, from our point of view, what we believe, they're not going to heaven. And it was just really hard to watch them. Next, we went to Old Town Nazareth, which was insanely cool. There are these people who had built an old town, basically like the town that Jesus lived in. So we saw that where they made wine, what they were dressed like. We got to see the little animals that they had, and we got to go to this synagogue that they had. It was amazing. We learned how Jesus lived in his childhood, and we learned just kind of what it was like for him to go back and preach the gospel about he was the Son of Christ, or Son of God. It was really, really cool. Next, we went to a temple where Jesus walked. It was so incredibly cool. We just got to sit on these steps and see, we got to see exactly where Jesus would go hundreds of times. He went to that temple hundreds of times. It was amazing to see. One thing that affected me that I didn't think would really affect me at all was the city of Tel Aviv. You can see a picture up there. That's the city, kind of the outskirts of Tel Aviv, and then right next to it, there's this mural, and you probably can't read it, but it says, "We were all once refugees," which I took a picture of it because I thought it was cool, but then I thought about it later, and I thought, we were all once refugees to sin, and we still kind of are. And I just thought about it in a way where I was a slave to sin. I was lost, even though it doesn't feel like we're lost. Those people in that country, they're lost, even though they don't feel like it. And so I just thought it was really cool. That's probably not how they meant that mural to affect people. But I took it as, I'm no longer a slave to sin. Now, I'm saved. And I have a God that loves me and died on the cross for me, or sent his son to die on the cross for me. Mm-hmm. I noticed that the Jewish people and the culture itself was very, very kind and passionate. I learned so many things that I didn't know before. I knew very little about the Jewish culture. And going there and seeing all of the people, seeing how they worship, learning about them, it was really amazing to see, because I never thought about it before. And the things that we hear here in America are completely different than what's actually going on in Israel. So I encourage you, because Israel is the place where we have our roots, that's where our Christian roots are, I would really encourage you to go and look up a little bit more about the Jewish culture, because it's I learned so much. I had no idea about most of the stuff that was going on in Israel, also the political issues that are going on. I encourage you to look those up as well, because I'll get to it a little bit later, but it's just amazing to learn about. I will say the two things that really impacted me the most that I didn't think would impact me were the political situation, and then Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum in Israel. Ooh, that I still am having trouble talking about it because I was not able to talk for almost a couple hours. Like there's that entire tour we went on. We had a tour guide who showed us around the entire Holocaust Museum. He showed us like all the different pictures. We saw, the one thing that really hit me hard was there was this huge pile of shoes from the Jewish people. And it was the same pile. They literally just took a pile, put it in like a little glass case, and put it on the floor. You could walk over it. And it was the same pile that the Germans, the Nazis, put all of their shoes in before they went into the gas chamber. And I saw a lot of children's shoes. And that, I still am having trouble talking about it because it just hurt me so much to think these millions of people were executed for something that they believed. And they couldn't help that they were born into this culture, that they were Jewish. When you walked into the building, you could immediately feel the heaviness that surrounded the place. There was so much pain that these people went through. And in modern day Jewish culture, there's still that pain. You can still see that in the people. They're still rebuilding, but yet they have so much hope for the future. Another thing that really impacted me was the political and terrorist situation. We were right outside the Gaza border. We went to the Gaza, like right around the Gaza Strip, and it was the second thing that really impacted me. You can see in these pictures, that's the wall right there, and those are all the people that went on the trip. And right next to it, you can see this little lizard-looking thing, and it's a playground. This is a playground where children live, or right around the town where, right next to the border. It's a little playground for children to play in. And that little dragon, I don't even know what it is. It looks kind of creepy, but we played around in it a little bit. And it's actually a bomb shelter. And you can see the picture next to it kind of clearly. Those are a bunch of rockets that have flown into the town. And they're just stacked up like scrap metal. The people in that little town live in constant fear. There are bomb shelters every 3 to 5 feet, which is insane to think about. Because they only have a maximum of 15 seconds from when they get their first warning to get to a bomb shelter. So they have some buildings, they have playgrounds that are bomb shelters, so kids who are playing, they can just go in. And that hit me because we're not living in that constant state of fear that they are. Like even their children grow up in there, and that's their normal. Their normal is to hear a siren and go into a bomb shelter. At one point, they heard there were sirens going off over 360 times in about 52 days. And I just can't imagine living there with a family. Like if I had kids, I don't think I'd be able to live there, like at all. Like they're just in this constant state of fear, yet they have hope, which I felt was weird, to be living in that situation where you can do nothing, you're helpless. The closest thing, like the best thing you can do is go to a bomb shelter, try and protect your family. And that's all they can do. That was the second thing that really hit me hard. Now on to a more positive thing. One of the best things that I really enjoyed on this trip was the outlooks that we went to. You can see in this outlook, that is the mountain on which David and Goliath fought. In that little section, on the mountain we were on, that was where the Philistines' camp was. Across you could see the hill where the Israelites were parked, and then in the little valley in between, that's where David and Goliath fought, which I thought was really, really cool. And we also went to the Garden Tomb, where supposedly Jesus was buried. They don't know for sure if that's where Jesus was buried, but according to biblical sources, I think that's where it was. And I saw this verse and I really, really thought it's in Romans. I really liked it. I think something that I really loved the most was just the beauty of God's creation in that land. It is God's land. It's God's promised land. And I absolutely love it. So to wrap this all up, it was probably a lot of rambling. You probably didn't understand most of it. You just like the pictures. But one, the people there were absolutely amazing. They were welcoming to tourists, to people who didn't believe what they believed, and yet they still welcomed them into their home and taught them just about the culture, which I thought was amazing. I bonded with so many people. You can see that's our bus right there. It was a really, really fun picture. Even our professors got in on that one and made some funny faces. It was Patrick Henry College. It was 20 people from Patrick Henry College, 20 people from Cedarville University. A lot of us weren't really super close before we went, but we all bonded a lot. And we still keep in contact. The ambassadors were absolutely amazing. Our fellows, they led us, they cared for us. I heard some really, really bad news on this trip, and they comforted me, they prayed with me. They were absolutely amazing. And now that we're back from the trip, me and my roommate are ambassador and co-ambassador. So which means that we'll be hosting events on our campus, we'll be connecting with the Jewish community, which will be absolutely amazing, because we'll get to continue the work that we learned. We'll continue learning about what we learned about in Israel here, which I think will be so much fun. I learned about Jews and Christians and kind of what we should know about each other, which I really, really encourage you to research and look into, because I didn't know so much before I went on this trip, and now I'm just so much more informed. I used to think that the Jewish people were very, very similar to Christians, but they're not. We do have some common goals. We do have some things in common, but not everything. So if there's one thing I want you guys to get from this, is that you should go to Israel. Not really, but kind of, yes. It's an amazing place. I learned so much. Yes, I did go with a group, and I did listen to lectures, and I did go to places, and we had a professional tour guide, but just going and seeing these things can affect you in a way that nothing else will. Know the truth. Don't listen to the news always about what's going on with the political situation, because I learned that you don't truly know unless you're over there, or unless you're actually making an effort to know. Read for yourself, decide for yourself. I learned so much from this trip. I'm still learning, I'm still processing. But I think one thing that really impacted me is that God loves these people. And you can see that they know that God loves them. And they have hope for the future, despite they live in much worse conditions than we do. So, final takeaway was, have hope for the future. God has a plan for us, even when we don't know what that is. Because guess what? There are people who are living in these environments that are way worse than ours, and yet they have joy, they have peace, they have hope. And that's what I really got from this trip. I want to have peace, hope, and love for all the people around me, and hope for the future. Thank you.